Hey everyone, what's the crack? Lawrence here with another very exciting product. Today we're looking at the CAMMUS DDWB direct drive wheelbase. Most of you will never have heard of CAMMUS before, but CAMMUS actually has a bit of a CV going on. They make electric go-karts, they make stuff like gauges for performance cars and stuff like that. They even made a supercar. I shit you not, they made an electric supercar. Stuff like that just gets me a little bit excited about what could be in this box. Let's unbox it and get my first impressions. As you can see, it's a hell of a large box. It's quite heavy and it's had a bit of a journey here from China. So I'm not sure if this is the final product. I've not looked in here at all yet. I've just opened the top of it. So we've got some padding in here. Okay, we've got some nice boxes. Let me make some space here. CAMMUS, smart drive with infinite fun. So yeah, nice boxing. It looks to have been pretty well protected. So that's always a good plus. If a battered box arrives, it always makes me a little bit dubious about how it could have affected the product. So it's great to see stuff arriving in such good condition, even though it's traveled, you know, across the world. Let's open this up here. Okay, so in here we've got a bit of foam. Look at that, that is tidy, very tasty. Some loose bolts in there in the box, but look at that, carbon fiber. Nice beveled edge on this. Got some little toggles on there as well. This one is only up and down, but it settles in a neutral position. This one stays up or down, or it can be in neutral. It'll be interesting to see if they are individual inputs or if they're just the same input. We've got some toggles on here. They're slightly different shaped. So this one has a more square, not sure if you can see that here. This one has a more kind of a square, maybe for just feeling, but you probably know if you take your hand off the right hand side of the wheel, probably know that that's the closest one. I'm not sure why they have a different shape, but pretty cool. They're not, oh, this one has push down. This one does too. They're slightly more exposed at the bottom of this one. Again, not sure if you can see that here. I can see a nut under that. This one sits slightly further away. Not sure what the merit in having those different is. They seem to have the same functionality. But yeah, not a very clear detent on them. But there is a very clear indicator on them of where it is. So yeah, interesting. They have a lot of detents. So the increments are very, very small, which may suit some, may not suit others. Got some push buttons here. They're not very clicky. There's quite a bit of travel in them. And they've got a nice texture on them. They're not loud either, which is also nice. And on the back, we have shifter paddles. We've got our Allen key stuck to it here. Shifter paddles. The shifter paddles are also not very loud. So that's nice. We've got magnets on the outside, which that's interesting. I've not really seen that before. But that magnet, those magnets just popped out when I pulled them out. So you can actually make that shift heavier or lighter according to your own preference, which is quite nice. Shifters are very close to the wheel, so that's interesting. Not much space there between the shifter. They're usually a little bit further back. And no clutch paddles, of course. But yeah, interesting. This quick release looks like the typical quick release that we have. We actually get a wheelbase side quick release on this as well, which is interesting. And we've got the ability to, I don't know, connect some circuitry there. So interesting. I'm not sure if that's going to be the way on the final product. Just open this the way that I open these usually. And here we can see on the base side, we've got full rings here rather than partial rings like we have, or partial connectors like we have on a lot of other ones. There's no real need, because you can only attach the steering wheel in one way. There's no real need for it to be a full ring like this. But again, there's no negative to that either. And it does seem to be only power. There are two pins there, so it does seem to be only power that gets transmitted through that. So that's interesting. Other than that, it seems to be the typical NRG style quick release. Inside we have 4 of these pins that are spring loaded. So we have 4 of those pins, probably just some for redundancy as well. And we only have 4 tracks in here, all right. So that'll be interesting to see how that all plays out. The feeling, it's not perfectly smooth on the outside. It's actually quite a nice, almost blasted type effect on the quick release. So that's nice as well. And it's the standard, it looks to be the standard, yeah, same as the NRG quick release. The steering wheel itself looks to be very similar to what we see from a lot of other brands. Again, this yellow stitching, yellow marker here. The button plate itself, yeah, quite nice. And there's a bit of weight in those steering wheels, a bit of weight in this steering wheel as well. Nice branding in the middle here with CAMMUS. So as far as the steering wheel goes, no major surprises. The flappy paddles are a little bit close to the steering wheel itself. That could be potentially sorted. Not 100% sure how, but yeah, they're quite close. The magnets are interchangeable. That's nice for people who want, you know, maybe louder clicks or stronger magnets. If you have a stronger magnet, you can just attach it to the outside here and you can make those shifts a lot clickier. As for the buttons are functional. You've got 4 different color buttons here. You've got some rotary encoders with click down functionality. You've got this toggle which stays in place and this one here which doesn't, which we've seen on some other wheelbases. This one was just only for configuration. I'm guessing that that's not the case here, but I'm only guessing, only speculating at this stage. But yeah, very nice, no major surprises. Next, we go on to the wheelbase itself. Now, there's serious weight in this. Similar branding again, face this towards the camera as well. Again, almost identical in its consistency, how the packaging works. This is pretty cool. We've got some stickers here. And it looks like a CAMMUS flag. Yeah, this looks like a flag. That's pretty awesome. I'm not sure if everyone's going to get one of these flags. This is a custom package for me, but apparently this is very indicative of what you would get in the end product. Again, not sure if everyone's going to get a flag, but that's kind of cool. That's quite nice. Nice little touch. And here is the wheelbase. Now that actually looks kind of slightly different to what I expected. I've seen lots of the photos, but even the top here looks slightly different. Interesting. I've got a USB cable here and some mounting hardware. So just some, what are they, M6 bolts, I think. Some washers, stuff like that. Nothing too crazy there. We have a UK plug. Very happy to get a UK plug. We use the UK plug system, the 3-pin system here in Ireland as well. But it just saves me having to find another one of these kettle leads. So it's nice that they thought of that. Thank you very much, CAMMUS. Usually when I get a wheelbase, the adapter that's with it is just from the country that wheelbase is from. So that's kind of cool. Nice attention to detail there. Let's pull this out. This is our power supply. So our power supply is a Gojeson as well. So a lot of these brands looking for these, looking to adopt these Gojeson. That's a 360 watt power supply. So that'll be interesting to compare that to some other power supplies as well. And here is the Magic itself. Let's pull this out. There is serious weight in this. So it does appear that the quick release, we need to fit that part ourselves. That's interesting, I guess, because not everybody's going to be using the quick release that they provide. Not everybody's going to be going for that NRG style quick release. So if you just wanted to mount up your steering wheel straight to this, I guess you can. Saves them some money as well. We've got this kind of active cooling in the form of these kind of small T-slots. This one here is accessible, so you can side mount it here through these T-slots. I'm not sure if these if you can fit any shape or size of T-slot nut in here. One of the great unique selling points of this is that you've got all these little toggles and switches, similar to what we saw on the steering wheel. You've got them on the wheelbase itself as well. So that power button's actually really nice. It's a nice power button. These buttons are they're relatively basic. but they're pretty functional. What's cool about this is having a button box built into the wheelbase itself like this allows you to, you know, standardize stuff like your ignition, your start, stop, return to pits, stuff like that. Maybe, you know, ABS, traction control, brake bias, stuff like that. You can just standardize that on your base. One of the negatives of it is that you can't front mount it as a result. So a lot of people like to front mount these days. A lot of rigs come out with front mounting solutions. So this is a base mount solution only, and it carries a very large footprint. It's really quite a big unit, but it does have to seem to have a servo motor in there. Seems pretty smooth. It's not that loose, but you can never really tell while these things are not powered on. At the back, we've got shifter connections, e-stop. So it shows that they're planning on doing an ecosystem here. Pedal, handbrake, shifter, and we've got emergency stop here. Power adapter, USB. Interesting. All right, let's get this quick release mounted up so that so that means that we probably have to plug in that wire ourselves as well. So first thing we'll do, let's take this off. So just a tiny bit of work to do, taking that off. This wire, I'm guessing, has some bit of slack in it. Yeah, here we go. It feeds out of here. There we go. And then that will plug into this relatively simply. Just plug that in. Now, as this is happening, there's some grease on this quick release. It's actually not easy to reach in there, and I've got tiny little fingers, so it's actually not easy to get this in there. A little bit short. So here we are in the rig. I have to admit it was not straightforward to install this. The mounting holes are base mount only. You can side mount as well, but they don't give any brackets with it. I had some brackets for other wheelbases, but because this wheelbase is so large, it's actually quite difficult to find brackets that are tall enough to be able to fit this on a wheel deck. And of course, if it's a base mount wheel deck, the higher those brackets are, the lower your wheel deck becomes, and it starts encroaching on your knees, which is a bit of a pain. So I just went with the simple base mount route, but to do that I had to drill holes in my SimLab P1X universal base plate. This is a completely new mounting pattern that CAMMUS has, so that's a little bit difficult. I had to drill 4 holes and it was difficult to get them all lined up and stuff like that. It really was kind of my last resort, but I had to do it. CAMMUS does a bracket, but that bracket seems to only be suited to the CAMMUS rig, just the way it all fits together. So I wouldn't even worry about that bracket. As far as I'm concerned, no brackets exist for this. So you need to be prepared to do a little bit of DIY when you're actually fitting this. It's quite a large unit as well. A little bit difficult to get at those holes underneath, but it's mounted now. Let's see how it performs. Okay, so very first things, let's have a look at what we actually see here. The buttons light up when you press them. Kind of cool. These don't light up. 2 different rotary encoders, as I said earlier. Oh. Don't know if you guys can hear that. There's a slight bit of movement in that quick release. Well, actually, is it in the... Because it could be the steering wheel itself, could be the button plate. Okay, I feel it through the button plate, so it's not the steering wheel connection here. Well, it could still be behind here. Let me have a look. Oh yeah, I can see it moving slightly just at the quick release. So where the steering wheel just touches the base. So that is definitely something to be aware of. I'm barely touching that. And I can feel that movement. So as I'm going, like as I'm turning, yeah, that. Okay, so there's a bit of movement in the quick release. Definitely need to be aware of that. I tried to put a Simagic or a Moza steering wheel on here just for the fun, but what they've actually done with the CAMMUS is there's an extra thick collar which doesn't allow you to actually fit the other quick releases onto it. So you can only fit CAMMUS quick releases onto this. So this is that's quite important as well. The shifters are very close. Again, not sure how clearly you can see that on the screen there, but they're super close. Like, for example, let's take the Moza steering wheel. We see that the shifters are quite far away. And if we just take the CAMMUS steering wheel off here, we can see that the shifters are super close. So, Moza, CAMMUS. So, and all the other steering wheels, so like Simagic and ImSource and the likes, they all go for this slightly bigger approach as well. So that's very interesting, and we'll see if that actually has has any impact in practice. But also my quick release was installed off center. I'm not sure if you can see that there, but if you look at the top center, so this ring actually moves around, so that ring isn't the problem. That ring is centered now. But if you look at the ball bearings, the 4 ball bearings are on top, the 6 at the bottom, but they're not perfectly centered. So I need to remember where the 4 balls go here. I need to line up the holes here, and I need to basically click it on like that. So the way that I did that was I just basically used the 4 balls at the top. I used this one, the one at the edge. I use that as the top center, and line it up with the top center hole and pop it on there. So that seems to be just the way to do that, but everything is slightly off center. Not sure if that's by design. It's a quality control issue. I'm really not sure. But yeah, the buttons light up when you actually press them, which is nice, but I'm not sure how useful that is. I would probably prefer if they just were lit up all the time, but who knows? In the software, we might be able to change that. So we've got this toggle switch, which only goes, it goes down, returns to center, goes up, returns to center, and this one stays in place or in neutral. We've got full rotary encoders here. They're very kind of basic feeling. They're also both different. And the shifters feel pretty okay. There's no clutch paddle, but as I say, they're very close. They do have some adjustability to move in and out, but that's about it. And it's the standard rim. Now, one of the really cool things about this wheelbase, of course, is that we have buttons on the wheelbase itself. So they light up like the ones on the steering wheel. We've got more rotary encoders here, and we've got a big power button here. The power button you can't accidentally hit. Again, not sure if you can see that on camera. If you accidentally press that, it won't actually turn off your base. You have to press and hold. So we've got another one of these toggle switches which returns to center, and another one that stays put there as well. So that is that. Let's have a look at the software. So in the software, we've got a main tab here. So we've got CAMMUS GT wheel. We've got the GT1 steering wheel. We've got the pedals and the handbrake, which we obviously don't have here. Let's see. Okay, we can't click into either of those. So this main screen is pretty, from a functionality point of view, doesn't really give us anything. Okay, on the parameters screen, there we go. So we're on the parameters screen now. It shows we can click our angle, different angle. When we actually click those, we can see the steering wheel moving slightly. Interesting. Okay, leave that on 720. Power, I usually go to 100% with the power and then dial it down accordingly. This is a 15Nm wheelbase, so we'll see how that goes. Natural friction, I like seeing sliders set at 0. Effects ratio, natural damper, I'm just going to leave them as they are because this is how it was intended by them. We can save configurations, so let's see if we can just save this as LD. Okay, saved. Okay, then we have to go import. I don't know where that's saved. Import. Yeah, I've no idea where that's saved. Not important for now, but not intuitive to see where that actually saved. We don't get any live input of where the steering wheel is. Oh, there we go. Okay, here we have. So it doesn't automatically know that it's centered, which is fine. Is there a button to wheel calibration? Please click OK when turning the wheel to center position. So I've centered the wheel. Hit OK. Bolts it off. It jolts it off to the side. But yeah, center position is saved. So you can see that these toggle switches, they stay in place. This one does. This one doesn't. But this one can stay in place, which is interesting. It shows that stuff is being pushed. That's nice. It's functional. Shifters. Okay. So shifters up and down. The shifters also have little plus and minus, like you see on the screen there. Seems to be all good. I think we should probably just send it into Assetto Corsa and see what happens. So here we go. We're in my trusty Formula Agile, which I've set nothing up. So far, steering input seems it's reacting anyway. We'll see how it goes when we actually drive on track. At 15 Newton meters, I am expecting more here. So that was good. That was my first time going through. That wasn't so good. But straight away there, as I was going through the corner, I put the foot down a little bit too heavy. And I actually was able to catch it straight away. So that was, from a speed point of view, quite good. Haven't driven this car in a while, so let's give it a chance to warm up. I do notice that those shifters are quite close. Some people will really like that though, so don't see it as an automatic negative. The shifters are quite light as well, even though they have that extra magnet. But you can, of course, just buy another magnet. Feeling plenty of curbs. Oh yeah, there was a nice bit of a nice bit of road going over those little bumps. Nice bit of road feel there. I do feel that quick release. I do feel the knocking in the quick release, which is a bit of a pity. And as I go over the curbs and stuff, I am feeling that that quick release. Yeah, feeling that little bit of play. It may just be this quick release that I have, which is the one that came with the steering wheel. It may just be this one, but it's definitely something to watch out for. I'm not sure if I don't watch any other reviews before I get a product, so I don't know if other reviewers have picked up on that as well. So here we go. This is a very important place. Yeah, that's nice. I can already tell you they've done quite a lot of work for just getting that force feedback communicated through the wheel. Again, I'm at 100% in game. I'm at 100% in Assetto Corsa and 100% in the profiler. It doesn't feel as strong as other 15 Newton meter wheelbases, but I cannot, like so far, I can't fault the detail that I'm getting. It actually feels very, I know my driving isn't great, but it actually feels very intuitive. This is, of course, with a 330mm rim as well. So you're going to lose a little bit of detail, I guess. Well, at 15 Newton meters, I guess you're not really expecting to lose that detail. But it works quite well. As I go over center as well, there's no, I mean, there's the slightest bit of a notch. But honestly, yeah, I don't actually even think you can call that a notch, to be honest. Yeah, no, there's no notch. Scrap that. It's nice and smooth going over the center. Very enjoyable. Like, the force feedback is exceptionally good. Very, very good. You can, of course, because of the way this is designed, you could just fit your own quick release. If the quick release is a concern for you, you could fit your own quick release and get that on here. But yeah, as I go over those curbs, I am hearing that little bit of a rattle in the quick release. Didn't hear it there. But yeah, there's definitely a little bit of a rattle. I think that you can definitely work around that. It's not that big a deal, but it is something that exists. I will never make this last corner properly, but it's definitely something that exists. So this, of course, is my go-to force feedback test. I'm gonna have to try this in another sim as well. I think I'll go and load up Assetto Corsa Comptizione. As far as the force feedback goes in Assetto Corsa, it's not exactly what I expected, 15 Newton meters. I expected maybe a little bit more power. There might be ways to tweak that. I haven't played with any of the settings yet. The power is more than sufficient though. So it definitely, if this is going to be your first direct drive wheelbase, you will be like, what the hell is Lawrence talking about? Because there's so much power I can barely hold on to the wheel. And that is definitely true. But if you have used, I guess, higher end, more detailed force feedback steering wheels, direct drive, you may just notice that the forces are a little bit less. They don't feel very dampened, which is quite nice. And the signal, everything feels very welcome. Yeah, all in all, you can probably tell by the smile on my face. I've done a couple of laps now, but this feels good. The force feedback is really nice. Very pleasantly surprised. As far as force feedback goes, for what I expected, it 100% met the expectations, and I would happily live with this force feedback in Assetto Corsa. Very happy. Let's go into ACC now. So here we are in ACC. I've just mapped the controls. Again, changed absolutely no parameters whatsoever. This is not about finding, the ideal settings or whatever. This is just about first impressions. How does it feel out of the box? I feel far more force in ACC now than I did in AC. So that's good. Guys, this is pretty good. This is pretty good. Not feeling a hell of a lot on those curbs. That could be, I felt nothing on the inside curbs there. But again, that can probably be tweaked. Yeah, I felt a lot more on those curbs. This is class. This is not what I expected. This is not what I expected, guys. I think I'm getting a little bit more used to that quick release as well. Slightest bit of play. It's actually similar to, I used an NRG quick release on my Simagic, and I have it on one of my steering wheels, and there's this slightest bit of play. This is probably a bit more pronounced. Maybe if I paid attention to the track as well. But lads, this is out of the box force feedback, and it feels very good. The software is super simple, so there's not really much, messing about with it. Let's push it here. I can feel the second it starts rotating. I can feel that quite well. Got that curve there. Loads of force, very quick. I'm pretty impressed. I am pretty impressed. I've mapped some bits here like ABS, traction control, stuff like that. The registry on these encoders is very good. One thing that I really love, and I will say love, is these buttons on the wheelbase. I can actually so right now I've got one of them to cycle through this race logic unit, which is very, very cool. So that's the lower one, and I don't have multiple dashes on my main dash, but yeah, very cool. What else do I have? Oh, I have my ignition and stuff here. I accidentally just pressed the power button, but it stayed on because you have to press and hold it. But very cool. But that's nice, heavy, precise force feedback. Better out of the box than many of its competitors are after I spend hours tweaking. So huge props there for CAMMUS. Massive. What a surprise. Class. So there you have it. My first impressions. I actually thought it was going to take a lot longer to get my first impressions because I thought there was going to be tweaking, maybe software, you know, stuff that I needed to deal with. But as far as force feedback is concerned, I'm completely I'm pretty blown away by the fact that the force feedback is really good. It's very, very nice. I'd happily live with this force feedback every single day. And that is, you know, I've used SimiCube, SC2 Pro and stuff like that. Force feedback here is really nice. And the other competitors definitely have a challenge on their hands here, so that's great. That's really good. It's very obvious where they've kind of skimped on some of the build issues, the rotary knobs, stuff like that. Well, they're not build issues, but some of the parts that they've used are kind of more low end. The buttons are a little bit, I don't know, a little bit SNES or something like that. They're not, they're not as nice as a lot of the competitors are. It would be very nice if they were constantly backlit. They only light up when you actually press them, which is cool, but not very useful. I love having buttons on the base. The wheelbase itself, love having buttons. I could easily put a drift wheel on this and yeah, it would be perfectly fine. You know, I would still have all my buttons, return to pits, all that kind of stuff. I could just do that on the wheelbase. So for those of you who are on a very strict budget, I recommend just getting the wheelbase. And you could maybe even do without the steering wheel rim. Now, steering wheel rim is also decent value. Now, I say decent value, I'm not going into pricing in today's video because pricing is very much still up in the air. I don't know where the suppliers are, and before I've said pricing, the price of this, I will say, seems very good. Go and look up the pricing yourself and where you can get it, but I'll definitely have more concrete pricing in my full review, which is going to be in about 4 to 6 weeks time. But for now, I'm just going to steer clear of that. This seems like a really good buy, especially as a first, especially as a first direct drive. But that maybe doesn't do the force feedback that I've just experienced enough justice, because the force feedback is very good. I would almost say it's excellent out of the box. It's really, really nice. Assigning in Assetto Corsa and Assetto Corsa Comptizione was no problem. I can't imagine there'll be any issues in iRacing or Dirt or any of those other ones. With Dirt, we might need to do something to get that running the first time. But again, not for the scope of this video. Very, very pleasantly surprised with that. They're my first impressions. The mounting was a bit of a problem for me. If you have seen the way it mounts, the holes at the bottom, if it's not an issue for you, then don't worry about it. But very surprised. Very surprised. So if you have enjoyed this video, make sure to give a little thumbs up on the video so that other people get suggested this video. I will be doing a full review in about 4 to 6 weeks time. This is now my daily driver. I'm using this every single day for the next couple of weeks. I'm going to be using it for all my competitions. Absolutely everything I do, this is my wheelbase. That's the way my reviews work. I review the equipment as if I own it. CAMMUS did send this to me for review, but as you can see in the background, I review a lot of direct drive wheelbases, and it simply wouldn't make sense for me to buy all of those out of my own money. That's it for me for another first impressions video. The reviews of a lot of the other hardware that I have over my shoulder here, they're all in the works and they're all coming out. I wanted to really be able to compare them and kind of, just see the differences between them. So that's why the reviews are taking a little bit longer at the moment. I really need to be precise because people are specifically asking me, which should I get, which should I get, which should I get? And I want to do each one of them as much justice as possible. So I can't really give definitive answers unless I've reviewed them all in exactly the same way. So hopefully that answers that. Anyway, from a very pleasantly surprised Lawrence, I'll chat to you later.